Hey, I'm Dr. Ken Berry, family physician with almost 20 years of clinical experience. And today I'd love to discuss with you fatty liver disease and 5 things you absolutely must avoid if you want to reverse it. Millions of people around the world are being diagnosed with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. These are different kinds of fatty liver disease. NASH is an inflammatory condition, whereas NAFLD is more of just a fat accumulation without progressing to the inflammation yet. Now, millions of people are suffering, but there's a way out. There's a way to reverse this that's very natural, very easy, and very inexpensive. And I want to go over the 5 things you should avoid. And I think there's actually a bonus thing. But also in this video, I want to talk to you about 3 myths that you may have heard about fatty liver that if you follow them, they're not going to help you reverse your fatty liver at all. So let's talk about this. So you've been diagnosed with NAFLD or NASH or fatty liver. Now what? Here we go. So there is no FDA approved pill or injection for fatty liver, although Big Pharma has spent billions of dollars trying to come up with one. The reason for this is that fatty liver disease is caused by your diet, and you will fix it by changing your diet permanently to a delicious, healthy diet that's sustainable and full of good, nutritious, natural, real foods that you can eat for the rest of your life as you reverse and get rid of your fatty liver and never get it again. But now let's first talk about the traditional advice you may get from your doctor. So you go, you're diagnosed in your follow-up appointment. Your doctor says, okay, you need to avoid all alcohol and you need to avoid acetaminophen or Tylenol. I totally agree with both of these recommendations. You need to be a teetotaler. If you've been diagnosed with fatty liver, alcohol needs to not pass your lips again because alcohol is a poison that makes your liver work harder. And if you've already been diagnosed with fatty liver, you don't need alcohol at all. Zero. Not red wine for the good antioxidant. None of that. No alcohol, no Tylenol, no acetaminophen, because it is absolutely metabolized by the liver, and your liver doesn't need any extra duties while it's trying to get rid of the fat that's been accumulated there. Now, on to other traditional advice that you may get, which can be very vague and very obtuse and leave you going, okay, so how do I do that? Stuff like eat a healthy, low fat diet. What's that mean exactly? Eat lots of fruit and veg. Is that good advice or is that actually bad advice? Uh, Perhaps drink fruit smoothies, perhaps do liver cleanses, which either are things you buy from that provider or buy off the internet. Perhaps they tell you to drink more fresh squeezed fruit juices. Is that good advice or is that bad advice? And then always the last 2 pieces of this traditional advice is to exercise more and lose weight. Okay, thanks for that. Now, let's talk about the problem with that advice. First of all, that's the same advice you've been getting for your entire life from your healthcare provider, your dietitianist, your nutritionist. Yeah, we want to lose weight. We want to exercise more. We want to eat a healthy diet. But let me give you now some very specific advice that I have seen people use to reverse their fatty liver disease hundreds of times, to not only make the fatty liver go away, but make it stay away. And that's the things I'm going to talk to you about in this video. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease or non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, the fatty liver conditions, they're all about sugar, they're all about fructose, they're all about insulin, and they're all about inflammation. That's what causes them. And when you get rid of those things, that's what's going to reverse your fatty liver disease. So I'm going to tell you the 5 things plus a bonus thing that you need to avoid completely while you are reversing your fatty liver disease. But first, I want to tell you 3 myths, and you might hear this from your healthcare provider, or after you got home from your diagnosis, you might have Googled fatty liver disease and came up with these things. You might have heard to eat a low-fat diet, to avoid fat. And so there's really 2 different kinds of fat that I'm going to talk about more in a minute. But the healthy, good fats have nothing to do with storing fat in your liver. Eating fat does not make you fat, and eating fat does not cause fatty liver. That is a medical myth, a nutrition superstition that's just not true. Number two is that eating lots of protein is hard on your liver. You should eat a low protein diet. Again, there's absolutely no meaningful research that backs this up. Nothing shows that at all. That is a medical myth and a nutrition superstition. Number three is what's number three? Oh, fried foods. You should avoid fried foods. There's nothing magically good or magically bad about fried foods. It all comes down in what did you bread the food with and what did you fry it in. And we're going to talk about that more down in the 5 things. Okay, that's 3 myths. You can forget about those. Those are meaningless myths. They don't help you at all. Now, let me talk about the 5 specific things that you can implement as soon as this video is over and start to immediately reverse your fatty liver disease. Number 1 is you need to avoid sugar in all of its forms. Obviously, the 5-pound bag of sugar you buy at the store, obviously any kind of pre-sweetened sugar added anything you need to avoid. Sucrose, which is sugar, is made up of glucose and fructose. When you eat sucrose or sugar, and this is also applies to the natural sugar sources like honey and agave nectar. When you eat those, the glucose in that causes an insulin spike. And the fructose in that is not metabolized the way normal sugar is. Fructose is absorbed through the portal vein straight into your liver. And when you've eaten the glucose along with it, which is how you get fructose, you can't just get it by itself. Even in high fructose corn syrup, you're still getting glucose. So with your insulin already spiked because of the glucose load, then the fructose is immediately converted into a triglyceride, which is stored in your liver. So you got to stop the sugar in all forms. And you may say, well, God, that sounds like a lot of trouble. That sounds like I love sugar. Yeah, you've been diagnosed with fatty liver disease, which will progress to steatohepatitis and will progress to cirrhosis and ultimately to liver failure. This is not a joke. This is a very serious diagnosis you've got. That's the bad news. The good news is if you avoid these 5 things and do the other things I tell you about on my other YouTube videos, you'll get rid of the fatty liver and you'll keep it gone forever. You got to get rid of the sugar. Number 2 is soft drinks, whether they're sweetened with just sucrose, table sugar, or whether they're sweetened with high fructose corn sugar, sweetener sugar. Either one of those is terrible for your liver. The high fructose version is probably worse, but there's not a lot of research about this, and there's also billions of big food dollars out there trying to keep that quiet. But you need to avoid all sweetened soft drinks whatsoever. I would also minimize sugar-free or artificially sweetened soft drinks as well. We're grown-ups here. You don't need to drink your soft drink, your soda every day anymore. You've been diagnosed with a liver medical condition. So you got to stop the soft drinks. Number 3, fruit juices. Now, wait a minute. I thought I should eat lots of fruits and vegetables. Why do they always say it that way with fruit in the front? I'm not sure. No, you don't need to eat lots of fruits. Definitely not. Eating an occasional piece of raw fruit is not a big deal. There's a lot of fiber in there that slows down the absorption of the glucose and fructose, so it's probably not a big thing. I would not make fruit a big part of your diet. That might be your dessert, since you're avoiding all sugars, is you might have a little cup of berries or an apple or something as dessert. But that needs to be the extent of the fruit that you eat. But fruit juices are just concentrated forms of the liquid sugar that's in fruit. If you drink a glass of orange juice, you're getting the fructose from 4 or 5 oranges. That's way too much fructose. You have to stop the fruit juices, and that includes the fruit juice smoothies and maybe the liver cleanses out there. You need to understand there's no research that shows that any kind of liver cleanse that you buy on the internet is going to help your liver at all. What you've got to do is stop doing these 5 things and then do the other things I talk about. That's what's going to reverse your fatty liver. Number 4 is you have to avoid grains. This includes wheat, corn, oats, rice, amaranth, millet, quinoa, all of them. You got to avoid all these because they are full of carbohydrates. And you can do a quick search on the internet and say, what are carbohydrates made of? Carbohydrates are long chains of sugar. That's what they are. There's no argument about that. Grains do not have anything in them that will help your liver at all. There's no meaningful nutrition in grains that you can't get more of from better sources. Okay. Number four, grains have got to go. And so when I say that, I'm talking about from the cheapest white bread that you can buy at the discount store to the most expensive stone ground, non GMO, ancient wheat bread that costs $42 a loaf. They're equally as bad for your fatty liver. They have to go. Number five is industrial seed oils. Remember, I said before, they said stop eating fried foods. If you're frying that food in these oils, then you need to stop that immediately and start frying your good quality whole food in real fat, which we'll talk about. But what are the industrial seed oils? They are canola, soybean oil, peanut oil, corn oil, cottonseed oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil. Those are the major ones. Stop cooking in those. Stop adding those to your food. If you want to use a plant-based oil, then coconut oil is great. Olive oil is great. I prefer the animal oils like lard, bacon grease, tallow, butter. Those are the fats that I use in my diet. None of those good fats will increase your risk of fatty liver or make it worse. But the industrial seed oils have a very high omega 6 to omega 3 ratio, which is very, very inflammatory for your liver and your other body parts. It's not that all omega 6s are bad. That's not the case. It's if you're getting too much omega 6 versus omega 3s. That's where the problem arises. And so now the bonus tip is you've got to stop snacking. You need to eat either 2 or 3 discrete meals during the day in an 8-hour feeding window. And otherwise, you've got to stop the snacking in between meals because that's going to keep your insulin level elevated, which, remember we talked about earlier, is going to cause any amount of fructose you've got in there or any amount of sugar to break down into fructose, and then you're going to store that as fat in your liver. So there you go. Now I've got 2 other videos about fatty liver disease, and I'm going to post them here and here. You can click on those and watch them right now. And then also down in the comments section or down in the description, I'm going to post the diet that once you've gotten these 6 things out of your diet, you can follow even more. A real whole food ketogenic diet is the only diet I've ever seen reverse fatty liver disease. And I'm going to post a link to my playlist, which has over 50 videos about the ketogenic way of eating that you can watch at your liberty and learn all about this. Now, if you know anyone with fatty liver disease, NAFLD, NASH, cirrhosis, or even liver failure, please share this video with them. Sharing videos like this is how we're going to reach the world. They're never going to hear about this from their primary care health provider. Maybe they need to hear about it from somebody, and you can help me be that somebody. If my videos have helped you improve your health in some way, then please consider clicking on the Patreon link. It's right down below. It's a quick sign up. You can throw a buck or two my way so that I have more time and more resources to make videos just like this. If you like this video, click the subscribe button and the bell right beside it so that every time I get a bright idea, you'll be one of the very first to know. This is Dr. Barry. I'll see you next time.